Conrad Naistus grew up in an alcoholic home, but it was the death of his mom, who he loved so much, that sent him on a road of destruction. Thank you for joining us today, Conrad. Mm-hmm. Take me back to that day you said you would follow your mom wherever she went. Tell me about that relationship.
Well, my mom would start out her mornings by baking bannock and that, and I'd watch her, and then I'd watch every step that she took, and even when she'd start to cook, like what spices or what she'd put in there, and I was always right beside her, even when she did laundry.
It must have been hard growing up in a destructive home as well. Alcohol was a part of life. Tell me about that.
Alcohol did play a big part in my parents' lives. Like there would be people coming over, drinking and partying pretty much all night. We would always lock our doors in our room and we'd hide. Like we didn't know what was going to happen. Like we didn't want no part of it.
What was that like as a child, feeling like you had to hide?
It was scary. It wasn't the right place for a child to be. Children are to be loved, right? And to be cared for. And, no child should see anything like this from their parents.
So your mom passes away, and that was difficult for you. Tell me about that day and finding out that she had passed away.
When my mom passed away, I was 15 years old. After that time, there was a big part missing in my home, so I couldn't stay at home, so I decided to hitchhike out to BC.
You always thought that you would never allow alcohol to rule your life the way it did your parents, but that didn't happen.
I didn't start drinking until I was about 21. And I always thought to myself, like, alcohol is not going to be a problem in my life. I'm not going to go down that road where my parents were. But I made that slip. I ended up drinking. I started going into alcohol, and it just started to grow and grow and grow.
Tell me about how that started, and eventually you met your current wife, Laura.
When I met Laura, it seemed like alcohol started to become a part of what I did, right? So it became a part of our relationship where we would end up drinking, and it was like a disease, I guess. I guess I was 21 years old when we had Jared, our oldest today.
What was that like for Jared, you think, as it's almost like history repeating itself all over again?
I put him in the same situation I was in, and that was all blocked out because of, alcohol was already a big problem for me.
So you and Laura eventually separate. Things get a little rough. You move to Lethbridge, and it gets to the point where you're essentially drinking almost every single day. We'd
drink right until midnight, and then we'd be up by 5 o'clock. It'd be time to go to work. And then when payday come around, I wouldn't even know where my paydays would go. It was a constant thing. That's probably the worst time of my life, was to be drunk every day and to do the things over and over again. I thought to myself, I can't keep doing this. I phoned up Laura, and then I said, Laura, I'm done. I want to come home. She packed up Jared and drove down to Lethbridge to come and pick me up.
Things start to change after a while. You come back home. There is still, alcohol involved, but things start to change. Laura starts getting more serious about her faith. She's asked you to come. You've said at times you don't want to have anything to do with God. But what changed in your heart that made you want to at least give God a try?
That one weekend I was sitting in my basement, and I was thinking, wow, there's nothing more for me, right? I was going around in circles. It felt like I was depressed. I felt alone at times. I felt like a failure. I thought to myself, nothing's ever going to work out.
And so you decided.
Laura comes down and she approached me and she goes, do you want to go to church? I thought, okay, well, I need a change. So that evening when we went to the church, Laura decides, oh, okay, let's go sit right in the front. So we sat right in the front. So as the evangelist was preaching, he kept walking by back and forth, and then he'd look at me, and then he'd walk away. 15 minutes went by, and then he walks over to me, and then he goes, he looks at me and goes, I don't know who you are. He said, but after tonight, God said your life is not going to be the same.
Was he right?
He was. After that night, my life was changed instantly. My life spun on a dime, you could say, right? The craving of alcohol, the gambling, and even the swearing.
When you look back at the old Conrad and you look now at the new Conrad, what would you say to the old Conrad?
God is real. He has a plan for each and every one of us. Give God a chance. Give him that chance. He's going to come into your heart and he's going to change everything.